Hey, welcome back to Milton Daily Homes. Chuck here, and we have the big weekend roundup. It's Monday, and so we have a dozen properties that listed over the weekend. We're going to talk about all of them. Before we do that, the Milton buyer class is on Saturday, September 20th, so just a little under 2 weeks away. And so here's all the stuff that you would learn at the class. You can look at the 8 steps involved in buying a home. There's 3 first-time buyer incentives, including altogether, that's more than $13,000 of free government money that you can access as a first-time buyer. It's not just for first-time buyers, but we do have some information for them. We look at what a home inspection's for, things to look before you actually get a home inspection. How do you qualify and make sure you have the right inspector? How do you get access to homes before other buyers and even other agents? So all of those things we talk about at the class, plus a lot more. And so you can read what other people have said about the class. The location is right here in Milton, Saturday, September 20th, 1 o'clock to 3:30, and then leave your information here. And there you go. So it's actually filled up pretty fast because we didn't do a class in August, so we've already had people register for the class. And but we'll always make room. We can even switch locations to a bigger room if we end up getting more people. So today's video, actually it's 11 properties, not 12. Start off with Hampshire Way. What I do is I click the price icon right here, and then what'll happen is it'll order from low to high. Hampshire Way, this one seems a little bit high. I'm not sure of the exact square footage, but a lot of these ones are in the 350, 360. We have an underexposed and an overexposed photo, but they're of the exact same place. They have the mission style doors with the 5 panels, which is nice. Berber carpet, 9-foot ceiling. So there are some advantages with this one compared to like a Mattamy home, like a village town, for example. They do have a small common area fee of about $50 a month for garbage and snow removal, which you're not going to find in most of the Mattamys. About 85% of the Mattamys do not. Nadlin and Derry being the obvious exceptions there. But it seems a little high compared to what else is out there. Even what's listed right now, it just seems like it's pushing the edge a little too high. So Barclay is $434. It's a Croftside model, 1360 square feet. And so all brick, end unit adds value. Typically the end unit might add around $5,000. The brick it doesn't always add a lot of value, but people like it, and there's a broader audience. And here's the thing, the neighbor has the same model right here, and that wood all requires maintenance. You can even see right here the paint is starting to chip away. Usually every probably 3 or 4 years you're painting the outside of your house. So hardwood floors inside, it's vacant. It's a very popular model. People really like this model because it's an open main floor. You've got 3 decent sized rooms upstairs. And so this home with a finished basement typically will sell in the 420 to 430 range. Some have gone above, some have gone below. And then I guess they figured they've added the park. The thing is, that's a very busy community park. And whenever I drive by, there's always a lot of activity going on. So even though you get green space around you, there's a chance that you might hear a lot of kids screaming, and I don't know. That's really, it's one of those things where you'd almost want to spend some time around there and just kind of see what's going on. This one on Bustle also backs onto a park. It is the Ritz, or actually this is the Carlton. This is the bigger one, 1715 square feet of total living space, and it's the Carlton. So we always do the Carlton dance at Daily Homes when we see this model, and it's not unusual. I won't sing anymore because it's not pleasant. Now these guys double powered you with the lemon power and also the green apple power. That's a little inside joke. Stagers love to use fruit in different rooms, and they've kind of doubled the impact by having 2 bowls of fruit. Anyway, builder finished basement here. Most of them are builder finished basements. It's hard to tell sometimes from the photos, and then there's a bit of parkland behind. Seems a little bit high to me, but the lot's pretty good, 118 feet, which is usually a little bit more than the standard. So I might be missing something in this listing, connecting the dots. But from what I'm seeing, I mean, this model I think sold up in the 420s at some point in the last 3 or 4 months. I remember seeing that sale come through. Didn't back onto a park, and then you look at upgrades, and maybe even a potential 10 or 20 feet in the yard can make a big difference. So Farmstead is $449. It's not my favorite floor plan. I'll tell you why in just a second. It is an end unit. They called it a semi-detached, but I've always had the impression that this is an end unit townhouse. So I'm not sure. You might want to clarify that. Anyway, here's the thing. The main floor, you have to walk right through the middle here, so you almost have to have two different zones of furniture. They've done two, like a dining plus a living room. But some people end up doing like just their couches on this side and then the TVs on this wall, and then people kind of walk through. The other thing is that you can't really, there's not a lot of open flow between the kitchen and the rest of the house. So you're sort of around the corner is your kitchen right there. So there's your wall that separates the two rooms. They should have taken the calendar in the Kleenex box down, because it's not adding anything to the impression. If you want to leave that for showings, it's fine. For photos, you have to be simple. But anyway, it's just the preference. There are some people that like to have a separate kitchen, but the preference is to have things more open, that you can watch the kids, that you can talk and engage while you're cooking a meal. So it's one of those things that may just polarize buyers. So it does back onto this parkland green space here, but you don't really have a back fence. So that's the tough part, is that you're kind of, there's separation between you and your neighbors. There's nobody directly behind you, but it's not a defined yard. And if you have company over, I mean, some people would prefer to actually have a bit of a barrier on the back end too. So probably not my favorite, but we'll see what happens with it. Aired cord is $450. It's a townhouse. It's the thing about this main floor, to me, the Heathwood townhouses. Heathwood builds a very nice house. Higher ceilings here, but I find this area very narrow here, and so it's like versus the Mattamy homes, and believe me, that Mattamy's not perfect, but I like the layouts far more. They're a little bit wider. You can do a lot even with an extra 2 or 3 feet. Nice improvements in here. It's one of the smaller towns, so we typically see that the Robindales kind of sell for more than $450. There's an unfinished basement here. The photos are nice, presents well. It's just, again, it's probably not my favorite layout. Aired Court is a lovely street. We just sold a nice semi on Aired for one of the highest prices ever for a semi, up in the 530 range. So Applewood is $489. And so we just saw quite a nice looking similar version of this home with a lot more upgrades than this one, sell for around this price. Now, flashback maybe a week or two before that, and there was another home that was very similar to that sold over $500,000. So actually in competition, it sold for even up in the teens. So this one just doesn't, with the parquet, the original, everything's basically original. And usually in this neighborhood, when you see something with a lot of work to be done, you're usually not talking about high fours. You're usually talking about kind of like 420 to maybe 460 kind of range. It's what's nice about this one, you can't really see because of the angle, but it's a sloped driveway. You have a direct access from the garage to your basement, so it's a raised bungalow. That is incredible if you have older relatives, because they don't need stairs to access. They don't have that separate entrance where they're going down the stairs. It's right there. It's a nice easy transition for them. And but the only thing about that is that it cuts into your basement space. You figure a garage here is probably 200 square feet. It eats into the space versus some of the other homes, the garage is forward or it's off to the side or whatever else. So you lose basement space, but it's very convenient for older relatives. And there are a lot of blended families now where the kids are basically moving into a home and bringing their parents with them. The parents are selling their large home, and then it's like now there's childcare. The grandparents get to spend time with the kids and so on. So Shepherd is $515, semi-detached with a finished basement. Here's the thing. They quote it at 1945 square feet. Mattamy did not build this size of semi in this area. It didn't happen. So I know that's a lie. It's probably the Townland, which is 1860 square feet. Even when you look at the living and the family and everything else, it certainly looks like it's that. It might be the Spring Ridge, but I have a feeling the largest one is the Townland 1860. So it's not even true, right? I don't even know where they do the separate entrance on this one. No pictures. There's granite counters. $515 seems very high for what you're getting here. Maple Avenue, it's $549, and so there's a big bushy garden out front. I find this picture actually is a little bit better than when you drive by. Double garage, it's a split level home, 3 bedrooms here. I know somebody who has her eye on this, so hello Joan, welcome. It was great to see you on the weekend. And so renovated kitchen, 60 by 110 foot lot. And, you know, it's got a lot going for it at this price. I mean, I haven't been inside of this one. I've driven past it. Even changing the blue up is not a hard thing. The painting, there's a special way to paint the siding, but it's not difficult. I could probably go into this one, and with a little bit of money, even a budget of about $10,000, I could really make this one pop. So to me, it's a little bit of a diamond in the rough, and but it does have a lot of things that somebody would want long-term. The bigger lot, double garage, good area. You could walk to Tim Hortons from here. You could walk to Home Depot in that whole commercial stretch. Go walk and see a movie if you want. So location to me is definitely great too. So Milton Brook is $689, cranking the price range up a bit. And so we are 2870 square feet. I don't know why the photos are taken from basically knee level on this one. It's unfortunate. This is almost $700,000 asking price, and the photos just aren't doing it for. Your first showing is online. If you don't get someone online, they're not going to come see it. So you have to make a good impression. So Row Terrace, $775. Far better pictures on something like this. Take this photographer, put it in the other one, and I bet you it sells for probably $10,000 or $20,000 more. And I'm not exaggerating on that. So wainscoting throughout the whole house. We've got, or throughout the front room, sorry, you've got California shutters, what looks like throughout the whole house. Great looking kitchen here. We're more than 3,000 square feet. Glass shower, nice improvements in this one. Move-in ready. It's funny, I look at something like this. They didn't talk about how much they spent. You're going to have to spend a bit of money on the fence here. New Milton, here's a couple other points. So New Milton gets a hard time for the size of the lot. So I don't want a cookie cutter lot. I don't want a small property. That's a 40 by 100 foot lot. And in Bronte Meadows, right by the hospital, there are older Milton properties, very desirable, with lots this size. And so it's kind of fascinating for me that you can still find the good property in the new area and still be comfortable. So here's the thing. They didn't talk about the amount of upgrades here. So Stringer Circle, I'm going to talk about this first. Over $200,000 spent in upgrades. When I look at this home and I look at the previous one on Row, to me it looks like Row almost has more upgrades. So here's the thing. If somebody spent money on upgrades, like this driveway, for example, is not cheap to do. I don't even know how much it is, but I'm guessing it's at least $5,000. Way more probably, but the point is that it's probably not going to return much more than $5,000. So you know, the landscaping, a pool for example, you put $50,000, $60,000 or more. A lot of people put closer to 80 or 100 into a pool. You're lucky if you get a quarter of that back. So the Appraisal Institute of Canada did a study, and they said, what are the highest return improvements? There were 5 of them. So kitchen renovation, bathroom renovation, flooring, paint, and detail. So light fixtures, doorknobs, those kind of things make a big difference. Window coverings, that's the big 5. So when you're thinking about things to do in your home, obviously the advice of a qualified professional would help. I always say to people, I can give you very specifically a return on investment, but don't ask me to choose your paint color. That's for someone else to do. Anyway, they've got this nice border around the outside here. Expensive to do, doesn't necessarily pay off. The diagonal hardwood floors looks very nice. But even you look at the kitchen here, the staggered tile is nice, but these cupboards, you go over to Row, to me it creates a better impression in the kitchen from what they've done. So that's the thing, moldings, you've got expensive window coverings. That's, if you go too far in your window coverings, you're kind of screwed. It's a big property, it's 3,500 square feet. They've finished the basement. Legitimately, that's a good expense. You don't always get full value for what you put into a basement, but your usually average is about 70-75%. Concrete patio in the back looks like it's a continuation of the pathway on the side of the house and the driveway. Pretty respectable sized lot too, about a 45 by 95. Stringer's a pretty quiet street too. So it's getting trickier. It's funny, 2 years ago, it was easier to sell a house in the 800 to 900 range than it is now. And the thing, almost every sale that we've seen above 800, let's just say more than 50% of them have some kind of green space or privacy behind. So that's, or a bigger lot. There's something about the land that draws people in, because I think there's an expectation at this price point that the house is going to look good. It's going to be big enough. It's going to have some upgrades and features. But I think people really wait for the properties that have a bit of privacy behind. So that's the list. If you have any questions about anything in this list, if you want to see anything, let us know. And don't forget about the Milton Buyer Class, miltonbuyerclass.com. And thank you once again for joining us at Milton Daily Homes. Have a great day.